What's up guys, Brad here. In this video, I'll be reviewing one of BenQ's latest gaming monitors, the MOBIUZ EX2710. Is the picture quality and feature set enough to warrant the $300 price tag? Let's find out. If you're new to the channel, I post home theater and gaming related content such as technical breakdowns, graphics, performance, and audio reviews of video games, as well as equipment reviews just like the video you're watching right now. Consider subscribing if you haven't done so already and clicking that bell notification so you'll never miss out when I upload a new video. Also, I do have some Amazon affiliate links in the description below which I get a small commission from. This doesn't cost you a dime and helps support the channel. And before we get started, BenQ did send the EX2710 to me for a review, but this is not a sponsored video. They didn't pay me anything, they won't be seeing this video before it goes up on YouTube, and I have no restrictions on what I can and cannot say about this monitor. I will be giving my full unbiased opinion here. Now with that said, let's get into the review. So kicking things off with tech specs, and the EX2710 is definitely no slouch here. It's rocking a 27-inch 1080p IPS panel with a 144Hz refresh rate, along with a 1 millisecond NPRT, 2 millisecond gray to gray response time. It also has a max brightness of 400 nits, a 1000:1 native contrast ratio, and covers 99% of the sRGB color gamut. It does support HDR10 and features BenQ's HDRi technology, has multiple eye care modes and FreeSync premium support that works flawlessly with G-Sync. There are also two 2.5 watt speakers that use Trivolo sound, and around the back you'll find a 100 by 100 millimeter base mount along with two HDMI 2.0 inputs, a DisplayPort 1.2 input, and a headphone out jack. Now moving on to build quality, and I have to say it's pretty darn impressive for a $300 gaming monitor. The overall thickness of the monitor may be a turnoff to some, but it looks beefy and does have a premium look and feel to it. There are plastic vents along the top and bottom that aid in heat dissipation and add a nice touch while serving double duty on the bottom of the monitor, as that's where the speakers are. The back of the display has a matte black finish with glossy black diagonal lines and MOBIUZ branding. The three buttons on the back feel nice and sturdy, with the top being input selection, the middle allowing quick access to volume presets in the full system menu, and the bottom being your power on and off button. There's a snap-on cable cover that works pretty well, though if you're using thicker cables it can be a bit of a hassle getting the cover to stay put. There's also a cable routing hole near the bottom of the stand, and it does the job as intended. The monitor does have height, tilt, and pivot adjustments, though it can't be placed in vertical or portrait mode. The stand itself feels incredibly sturdy and doesn't take up too much desk space, allowing for easy placement on monitor risers if that's your thing. Picture quality in standard dynamic range is generally excellent, with some minor issues here and there. Backlight bleed on the monitor I received is non-existent, and the diffused matte finish on the screen does a good job of minimizing reflections, though you'll still be able to see some depending on your viewing angle. This doesn't really detract since the monitor can get pretty bright. Text is extremely clear with well-defined edges and no blurriness that I can see, even though the display has a pixel density of around 82. Color saturation and accuracy are pretty spot on, with the overall image maintaining a natural appearance that can look downright gorgeous depending on the content. The Destroy All Humans remake, for instance, looks fantastic and colorful thanks to the 99% sRGB color gamut really helping out here. This monitor will also work well for color correcting and grading videos and photos, but I'd recommend calibrating it with a colorimeter for the best accuracy. There are a couple of unique picture quality settings that can be adjusted to tailor the image to your liking if you're not happy with the included presets. Light Tuner gives you more control over shadow details or highlight detail, while Color Vibrance acts as a more precise saturation control that prevents things from looking too nuclear when maxed out. Black eQualizer increases visibility in darker scenes without overexposing the brighter areas, but this setting is only available in the FPS mode preset, which I'm honestly not a fan of. If you're after an accurate looking image, however, I highly recommend selecting the standard picture mode and leaving all these extra settings at their default. HDR picture quality is actually pretty decent considering the price point. Switching to HDR definitely provides noticeably brighter highlights with more shadow detail and color information than SDR, so this is not just some fake form of HDR. Honestly, I fully expected to not be that wowed by the HDR performance here, but I was pleasantly surprised and use it on every game that supports it. Death Stranding, which already looks fantastic in SDR, really benefits from the added peak highlight brightness and shadow detail when using HDR. I honestly wouldn't even bother trying to play it in SDR if you can play it in HDR. The EX2710 does have BenQ's HDRi technology, which uses a sensor on the front of the monitor that detects ambient light, then adjusts contrast and clarity along with color balance and saturation accordingly. There are 3 modes to choose from here: Game HDRi, Cinema HDRi, and HDR. Unfortunately, in testing the 2 HDRi modes, I ran into the same HDR issue I have with every single BenQ monitor I reviewed so far, and that's highlight clipping in Windows 10. Now this varies game to game and movie to movie, but since the HDRi modes block out adjustments to contrast which allow you to adjust the peak highlights in HDR, there doesn't seem to be a way to get rid of the clipping in these modes. For that, I recommend using the HDR setting and reducing contrast until the clipping goes away. I found that contrast at 47 is my go-to for games, and contrast at around 30 to 35 is my go-to for watching movies and YouTube videos, but your settings will likely be slightly different than mine. For reference, this clipping does not occur when using HDR on a console. Now the EX2710 does have a claimed response time of 1 millisecond MPRT and 2 millisecond gray to gray, and while I don't have equipment or a device to test this, what I can say is that the monitor feels very responsive when playing games and is buttery smooth thanks to the panel being 144 Hz. I noticed 0 input latency even when using a wired controller as well. There is an AMA setting in the menu, which is basically BenQ's version of overdrive, but I found that any setting above 1 produces too much inverse ghosting and overshoot to be usable in my opinion. The monitor does work flawlessly with G-Sync even though it's not officially compatible, and should work just as well with any AMD card. There is a blur reduction setting which uses black frame insertion and works well, but it does cut the brightness in half and can't be used in combination with FreeSync or G-Sync. Moving on to sound quality, and I want to talk about the Trevolo speakers in the EX2710. Now these two 2.5 watt speakers housed in the bottom of the monitor really surprised me. They don't sound thin and tinny like I expected due to their size, but instead have a richness and fullness to them that I honestly could not believe. The 3 different audio presets have their own pros and cons to each, of course, but for my money, the Cinema preset sounds the most rich, full, and natural. And honestly, a sound demo recorded with a microphone won't really do these speakers justice. You really do need to hear them to believe them. I know, it sounds like marketing BS and hype or whatever, but I really am truly impressed with the sound quality out of these 2 speakers. So do I think the MOBIUZ EX2710 is worth the $300 price tag? Considering the features you get, including HDR support, excellent sound quality, a decent native contrast ratio, a 144 Hz refresh rate, along with FreeSync premium support, and a stand that has height, tilt, and pivot adjustments, I do believe it's an excellent value. However, there are some issues here and there, including HDR highlight clipping, some really bad inverse ghosting on the higher overdrive modes, and picture settings that can only be accessed when using select picture mode presets. However, even with these shortcomings and issues, the MOBIUZ EX2710 from BenQ is, in my opinion, one of the best monitors you can get in the $300 price range. If you're in the market for a new monitor, definitely check this out using the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. It lets me know that you appreciate this type of content and that you really care about me. Thank you everyone for watching, and I'll see you in the next one where me and some friends run into 3 really bad people.